Well, it's getting late, isn't it? And it's time for all good citizens to be getting ready to go to bed. Would you like me to read you a bedtime story? Of course you would. I haven't finished the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Well, gather round, citizens, gather round, and I'll tell you how it ends. We last left Goldilocks fast asleep in the Three Bears' house. She's eaten Jane Bear's porridge and made a mess of the dining room and the bedroom, and she's still asleep in Jane Bear's bed. Well, soon enough, the Three Bears came home from their walk through the forest. They hadn't found many berries, just enough to flavour their porridge and keep them from getting scurvy, but they were looking forward to breakfast. But when they came into their dining room, they could see that something was not quite right. Henry Bear saw that there was a spoon sitting in the middle of his porridge. "Someone's been at my porridge," he said in his great big gruff bear voice. And then old Edward Bear saw that there was a spoon in his bowl of porridge. "And someone's been at my porridge too," said old Edward Bear. And Jane Bear looked at her bowl, and she was very upset. "Someone's been at my porridge too, and they ate it all up." Well, she was very upset indeed, for now she'd nothing to eat except for a few berries. Well, Henry Bear and old Edward Bear each gave her some of their porridge. But now they were all very hungry, because none of them had had enough to eat. And bears need to eat a lot of food when they can, because they know that winter is coming, and there won't be anything to eat. Since they hadn't had enough to eat, they decided to rest a bit, because a sleep is a poor man's dinner. But when they got to the bedroom, old Edward Bear looked at his bed and saw how the covers had been thrown on the floor, and he said, "Someone's been lying in my bed." And Henry Bear looked at his bed and saw how the covers had all been rumpled, and he said, "Aye, and someone's been lying in my bed and all." And Jane Bear looked at her bed, and at first it looked like it was still neatly made. But then she saw Goldilocks. "And someone's been lying in my bed," she shrieked, "and she's still there." At that, Goldilocks woke up with a start, and she saw the Three Bears staring at her, and she screamed, "Get out! Get out, all of you! Get out of my house!" Maybe because she thought she was in her own house, or maybe she thought that she could take the bear's house from them if she could scream loud enough. So Henry Bear hit her with his big bear claw and knocked her head clean off her shoulders. Oh. They felt much better. Then they ate the rest of her, tore her apart and ate her. They felt very good indeed, because now they had enough to eat. And all three of them lived happily ever after. And Goldilocks, she never bothered them again. And the moral of the story is, don't go wandering round at night, or you might get killed. Well, that's the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. What a wonderful story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed reading it. And I'm afraid we've come to the end of our time. Tune in again tomorrow for another bedtime story. This is Jack Worthing telling you to have a lovely night and pleasant dreams. See you tomorrow.